Hey there and welcome back. We're going to continue this train. We're going to keep going talking about guitar modes explained. In the previous lesson, we went over the core 1 Ionian, which is the same as our typical major scale, but if you haven't watched that, make sure you do. I'll be sure to link that right now in the video up top somewhere. But today we're going to move on to the second mode. We're going to move on to Dorian. And this is when we really start understanding the difference between guitar modes and guitar scales. So let's stop talking before the let's go to the intro. Hey, again, thanks for being here. And if you want to continue seeing these videos, especially this series, since there are more coming after this one, make sure that you click like, subscribe, and the alert button so you're notified of every time I do a video. Now, in the previous video, we started with our Ionian mode. Let's kind of get ourselves a little bit of a refresher there, starting on our 3rd fret of our low E, and understand and remember the shape of Ionian. On the low E, it's frets 3, 5, 7. On the A, it's 3, 5, 7. On the D, 4, 5, 7. On the G, 4, 5, 7. On the B, 5, 7, 8. And on the high E, 5, 7, 8. When we start to expand into the additional modes outside of Ionian, it's where a lot of us get confused, and that's okay. I have been there. I still am there every now and then. But a lot of times we confuse the idea of positions of the major scale and modes, because with guitar, the patterns are identical. It's really about what's underneath. What is the resolving tone? What are we building the rest of the piece around that really determines what modal sound we're getting? In other words, if I were to start there on that G and play that Ionian mode, that's my first position of the major scale, of G major. And if I shift up to the 5th fret and I play what we'll learn today, the Dorian shape, that's just technically my 2nd position of G major. But if we break that apart and we bring that position down to, say, that same 3rd fret, that G, and we play that pattern of what we'll learn today, Dorian, you'll start to hear the key difference. You'll start to hear modal tones. So with all of these, we're going to do what we always do. Typically, you compare everything to your core major scale. So if we think of these as numbers, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we just repeat those same notes at a higher octave, and that's what gets us to that high E string and back down. So we can think of these as the standards, right? This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With Dorian, the first change you'll see is a flat 3rd. So it's the same 1st, it's the same 2nd, but instead of going to that 7th fret, we go to the 6th fret. For those of you that don't know, flat is just simply 1 fret down toward the headstock, and sharp is 1 fret up toward the body. The second and only additional change you'll see is a flat 7. So on the D string in Ionian, we went from the 4th to the 5th to the 7th. Here, instead of playing that 4th fret, we're going to play the 3rd fret. So again, the key difference between Ionian and Dorian, a flat 3rd and a flat 7. So our full Dorian shape that we'll really focus on is as such. And again, we're doing all of these in G. So this will be G Dorian, just like we did G Ionian. That way you're really able to hear the differences with that same resolving modal tone, that drone note that we'll play through here in a bit. So G Dorian, 3rd fret of our low E, and that's where we'll start. And we will go 3, 5, 6. On the A, we go 3, 5, 7. Same thing on the D. Same thing on the G. When we go to the B, we start at that 5th fret, and we go 5, 6, 8. And the same thing on the high E, 5, 6, 8. And now for those of you that are really visual and want to see this and maybe take screenshots or pause and play through and really let it sink in and cook in and memorize it, I'll make sure that I put up a visual of what G Dorian looks like in this specific shape and pattern right now so you can do just that. But again, the real difference comes in the exercises we'll utilize to really understand what it means to play a mode versus a scale, and doing so with the right sound behind us. So what I want you to do is just sit, put headphones on if you can as well, and I'm going to play a G drone, just a drone note in the background of G. And I'll play through that entire scale just as is, up and down, so that you can hear how each note impacts that resolving tone, that modal tone, that tonal center. But here's something really amazing that we're going to be learning throughout this entire process. You can connect a lot of the patterns you already know to still be playing in modes instead of scales. What I mean by that is if we want to play in G Dorian and we have that G note, that tonal center of G, we can still start to extend that same mode. We don't have to just be here. We can extend it across the entire fretboard in very similar ways to how we extend our major scale positions. To give you an example, I'm going to start the Ionian on the 1st fret. And that way, that tells me that with that G being our tonal center and my Dorian starting on that 3rd fret, it's still in G Dorian. So we'll play through the Ionian starting on the 1st fret into G Dorian, the shape we just learned, starting on the 3rd. So what I want you to do this week is to really cook these patterns in, and I'll give you 3 variations of exercises that I want you to do. First and foremost, I want you to really memorize that shape, that pattern of G Dorian. So just that mode as is, as we learned in the actual pattern and the visual pattern that I put on the screen. I then want you to connect. So I want you to start on the 1st fret and play Ionian into that 3rd fret playing Dorian. And then I really want you to play around and mix up the scale. So you could do something simple like starting on the lowest note of Ionian on the 1st fret and scooting up to the top note of Dorian on the high E and coming back. But I really want you to start visualizing everything and making it come together. Again, if you want to see part 3 coming up here soon, we're going to talk about the Phrygian mode, one of the coolest ones, honestly. I love Phrygian, but you won't know it's there unless you subscribe, and click the alerts. And until next time, can't wait to see you then. Have a good one, and we will talk soon.